11. Mr. Mhlungulo, I will be teaching you geography for grade 11, or I will be presenting a lesson for grade 11 geography. Now, language is a language that I will be using throughout the sessions or throughout these lessons is both English and isiZulu, but for code switching to explain certain concepts, I will be using isiZulu. So that's that for there's a disclosure basically. Focus code switcher basically. Yeah. So there we go. It's the first lesson in grade 11 geography. Yeah, the first concept that we will be looking at, as you can see, is the concept of atmosphere. Now, nansi ilesson yokuqala le ungabi overwhelmed ukuthi konje yini atmosphere or am I going to know all these concepts? There are some concepts that are going to be confusing at this particular moment, but don't worry, this is just an introduction. There are a lot of concepts that you are not aware of them as we this is basically an introduction, as the name says. So do not be overwhelmed or threatened on the fact that there are some concepts that you don't understand. Don't worry. As we continue through the course or through the lessons, you are going to get okay, or you're going to be okay. So yes, first point right there, atmosphere. It talks about almost all life on Earth and atmospheric processes rely on solar system, which is the sun. Now, this is a fact, right? This is the fact which says all life, by the way, all life on Earth and all atmospheric processes, they rely on nothing other than solar system. So without solar system, of course, we know then that there will be no life on Earth. That is one thing, right? Second point here is the sun. What it does is that it emits, the sun emits the energy into space, radiating it to all direction. Okay, so the sun, as you can see the depiction right here, what it does is that it releases what energy, heat to the water, to the earth, right? Now, of course, now as it releases it, some of the energy does not reach the earth. Some of the energy, as you can see here, is lost to water, to space, some of which it gets into atmosphere or into earth, but then reflects back in the form of clouds. So some energy lost on space and some energy gets into the earth's surface. So the understanding then is a certain fraction of energy is getting into earth, right? Not all of the energy. Now, as you can see here, earth is approximately 150 kilometers away from the sun. Now, this is a depiction right here, which basically shows that. Now, 150 kilometers, of course, it is understandable that a fraction of the sun will reach the earth, right? Because, well, sun is too far from earth, or earth is too far from the sun, right? Moving forward, solar energy hits earth atmosphere unevenly, another way it's unequal, and that very unequal heating of the earth creates what is called pressure differences. Now, this concept is very important as we're going to explore it on future lessons, right? Pressure differences basically means some other areas are having high pressure, meaning that they are colder. Some other places are having low pressure, which means they are hot. That is the understanding, right? Now, these pressure differences then leads to a formation of winds and ocean current, as you know them. So the understanding is the cold air moves from a high pressure cell to a low pressure cell to hot areas. That is the movement, or rather the formation of winds. Umoya usuka endaweni ibandayo uye kuphi uye endaweni eshisayo. Now uzokunderstanda ke ukuthi kungani umoya uwenze kanjalo ngokuqhubeka kwelesini. Kodwa ilokho njengamanje okwenzakala that you need to understand. Okay, moving forward right here. Now let's talk about reasons, right? Reasons for temperature increases and temperature decreases. What are, remember, these are, I should say, highlights, right? These are, yes, basically these are highlights azosivezela ukuthi kungani ezinye zindawo zibande, or rather ezinye zindawo i-temperature i-increase, kwezinye zindawo i-temperature i-decrease. Lokho esizokubuka in this lesson. Right, moving on. Sorry. Okay, yeah, moving on right here. So what we're saying then is there are three reasons that we're going to be looking at. One, daily temperature variation. Also going to be looking at seasonal temperature variation and the balance of incoming and outgoing radiation. These are reasons that we're going to be exploring bafundi ukuthi ke kungani temperature increase kwezinye izindawo, kungani it decrease. Indlela esizobuka ngayo ke in this lesson of course sizobheka daily temperature differences, seasonal temperature differences, and balance of incoming as well as the outgoing radiation. So let's look at the first one right here. So during the day, the sun's radiation hits the Earth's surface. Okay, this is why temperature are generally higher during the day. Then, of course, at night, the Earth radiates heat back into space, causing temperature to drop. In other words, during the day, the temperature reaches the Earth's surface. Diashisa, siyazivela almost during the day. Now, during night, or rather at night, low temperature leyo yenza njani? Ibuyela back into what? Into space, right? Or yeah, it will back into space, and as such, temperature drops. Think of it this way: during the day, if there's sun, the source of energy is going to be hot. Now, as the Earth rotates, of course, ilanga lizoshona, ayisabonakali ilanga. In other words, there is no source anymore. What is going to do? The temperature, or rather the energy that reached the Earth's surface, is going to go back. So daily temperature variation, those are reasons for why temperature increases and why temperature decreases. The second point is seasonal temperature variation. Of course, ama-seasons sikhuluma spring, summer, autumn, winter. And as I said, don't worry on this one. I'm going to explore this in larger detail as we continue. But for this purpose of the lesson, let's look at this. Seasonal changes are due to a tilt of the Earth's axis, right? So during summer, the hemisphere is tilted towards the sun, which receives more direct sunlight, leading to warmer temperatures. So the understanding is during summer months, certain hemisphere, either northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere, is facing the sun. In other words, it's closer to the sun. Of course, for example, if in the northern hemisphere, the North Pole is facing the sun, which means there's going to be summer in the northern hemisphere. And then on the other hand, the axis, which is the South Pole, that is facing away from the sun, that will be winter in there. So that's the understanding, that tilt, or rather the tilted sphere, or rather the tilted nature of the Earth. And of course, vice versa, in winter, the hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, which receives less direct sunlight, resulting in cooler temperatures. So ilezo izathu lezo ezenza ukuthi i-temperature inyuke, i-temperature yehle. I-understanding iyakuveza lokhu ukuthi ke, of course, shilo ukuthi ke during summer temperature are higher. Why? Because one part of the Earth, either northern hemisphere or southern hemisphere, is facing towards the Earth, and that, I mean, towards the sun. In other words, it is closer to the sun, and therefore it's going to be hot. On the other hand, that hemisphere, either southern hemisphere, that is not facing the towards the sun, it's facing away from the sun, it will be winter in there. So the temperature in that area, or in that hemisphere, is going to be hot. Sorry, it's going to be cold. So that is why temperature in winter colder, right? And now the last one, balance of incoming radiation and, of course, outgoing radiation. Incoming, coming in, outgoing, going out. Okay, so the balance between incoming solar radiation and outgoing terrestrial radiation determines the overall temperature. So when incoming radiation exceeds outgoing radiation, temperature rises. Conversely, or on the other hand, when outgoing radiation exceeds incoming radiation, temperature will fall. So of course, during summer months, if there is more energy coming into an area or coming into that particular space, of course, there will be hot. There will be a temperature or energy surplus. But of course, on winter sessions or on winter seasons, if there is less temperature, less heat coming into the area, of course, it will be cold, which means there is in there what can be called energy deficit. The temperature is minus in there because, of course, there is outgoing radiation, more cold energy, more heat energy is going to the area. Is going out of the area, then into the area. Think of it that way, right? If you pour water inside the cup or inside the container, the more you pour it, the more it will increase. But on the other hand, if you pour water out of the cup or the container, the water inside will get less. So that's the understanding right there. Okay, so that's that as far as basically reasons why temperature increases and temperature decreases. But as I said, don't worry, we're going to look into this in a more detail as we continue. Okay, now having said that, let's move on to basically the session or the lesson is done. This is a summary of all the key concepts that you may have missed, right? You need to know, you need to go through these concepts, learn them, understand them before you move on to other space or rather to other lesson. Atmosphere, what is atmosphere? What is atmospheric processes? At least you must be in a position to give at least one example of atmospheric process, right? Formation of clouds, as we've just highlighted here, precipitation, rainfall, also part of atmospheric processes. Emits, what is the understanding of the word emits? Of course, the process of releasing in them energy or solar energy, fraction, and so on and so forth. So go through these concepts yourself, and so as to actually grasp this introduction, right? So as to actually grasp this introduction. And then of course, this is where we are. You are testing your knowledge. This is introductory activity 1.1. Study the following statements and choose the correct answer. Okay. Of course, having studied what we've already studied, you must be in a position to understand or to respond to certain answers. To all the answers here. Now, I'm not going to go through all the questions. I'm going to make sure then that are viewed properly, or everyone is able to view them. Yeah, what does almost all life on Earth and atmospheric processes rely on? Kuthiwa lapha yini almost all life. In other words, yonke into noma yonke into ephilayo emhlabeni noma kwi-atmosphere irely kuyona. Yini lento le engathi makuthiwa yikho angesikwazi ukuphila, right? Now, i-option yokuqala, moon energy. Moon energy has nothing to do with ukuphila kwasemhlabeni. Solar energy, well, maybe, but let's move on and see all the options. That is another trick with multiple choice question. Multiple choice question, of course, there are multiple answers. Into yakho wena ukuthi wenze njani, funda all the options. Ungasho okay, because let's say ngitholile, then that's the answer. No, read all the options and tell them out as you are reading them and so on and so forth. So moon energy, just the moon. It's just something that is there, has nothing to do with the life on Earth. So this one cancelled out, right? This one cancelled out in a way, right? Solar energy. Well, solar energy. Well, obviously, maybe you know that maybe the answer is this. Just put in a star, or just put in whatever marker ukuthi uzobuya kuyona. Earth's core energy. Earth's core energy. By Earth's core energy, basically they're talking about kuma structures of the earth lapha mountain sawakhumbula, that there is there is the core that is the center of the earth. There is mantle, there is crust, and so on and so forth. Earth's core energy doesn't talk of any, maybe it's close, but let's move on. Wind energy. Well, this one is out, right? This one is out. Earth's core energy has nothing to do with the life when atmospheric processes, and of course life on Earth. Yes, maybe they are certain nutrients or certain minerals that comes within the Earth's structure, but in this particular case, it's out. So the appropriate response right here is solar energy. In other words, solar energy from the sun. That's what we've talked about. So the correct answer here is solar energy. Then you can continue and look at how many of the sun's energy does Earth receives. These are just multiple choice question. It does need for you to think deeper. If you don't know these answers, which means you didn't understand the concept, go back, replay the video. Uzokwazi ukuthi understand kahle. Yeah, ihamba kanjalo, all this, and I think they are also model answers, ama-answers ngale activity le. Now, ungabheki ama-answers ungakayitholi i-answer for yourself. In other words, go through these answers yourselves, the question yourselves, and then go and come and mark yourself here. Okay, model answer here is as you can see it. I'm not going to read through all of them. In fact, I'm not going to read through the model answers. I'm just showing them. Just pause the video, take a screenshot, write them, and so on and so forth. So that's that for today's session. Thank you and bye-bye.